All right, welcome again. So in our last video, we just looked at a general overview of quadratic equations and functions. We looked at the graphs, we looked at the properties of the graphs. And again, it's very important that you get familiar with that concept. Actually, all of those things that are there, you can watch it again, like I said, just to better get acquainted with quadratic functions as a whole before we start everything else. For this video, we'll be looking at how to find solutions to different quadratic equations by taking square roots. Yeah, so we'll be looking at by taking square roots. Have stuff like this. We'll look at this, and then we'll have some others later on. So let's just dive in. X squared is equal to 9. X squared is equal to 9. If I take the square root of that, I would have x can be equal to 3 or is equal to negative 3. Remember we said is that when you take the square root of a positive number, you could have 3 or negative 3. So it's something you need to have at the back of your mind when you are solving more complex quadratic equation. If you take the square root of a positive number, just know your solution is going to split up in 2. X squared is equal to 16. Same thing is a positive 16. So we could have x is equal to 4 or negative 4. So those are your two solutions there. Next we have x squared is equal to 0. For this, x is just equal to 0. That's one solution for that, and we said that in the previous video. X squared is equal to 3. Would have x is equal to square root of 3 or negative square root of 3. Interestingly, so there's a huge block of math around square roots. It's called, some people call it radical expressions rather. Radical expressions. I mix them up a lot. Then we have x squared is equal to square root of 11, or x rather would be equal to square root of 11, which we said it's no solution, right? No solution. That's square root of 11. Let me write that properly. That's square root of 11. Square root of 11 would have no solution. Square root of negative 11. Square root of negative 11 will have no solution. Okay, so that's basically it for this, right? Let's look at some more complex ones. And I'll just dive in again. X minus 2 all squared is equal to 9. So let's use this area for our scratch work here. X minus 2 all squared is equal to 9. I'll drive this by saying I'll take the square root of both sides, because basically once you're met with a square root sign, what do? Take the square root of both sides. So we have x minus 2 can be equal to 3 or negative 3, right? So again, you see that coming up here. That means we can split up our solution into 2. We would have x minus 2 is equal to 3. I'll do this, or x minus 2 is equal to negative 3. Let's solve for either one. So that means that x is equal to 5, or x is equal to, okay, this is negative 3 plus 2 now. Negative 3 plus 2 would give you negative 1. Negative 3 plus 2 would give you negative 1. So x is equal to 5 or x is equal to negative 1. You might be wondering, how can these two numbers work for the same? Okay, so let's try. Let's plug them in. Let's plug 5 in. If you plug 5 into this expression, you would have 5 minus 2 squared is equal to 9, yeah? That means 3 squared is equal to 9, which is a true statement. Right? So it's a solution, it's true. Let's plug in negative 1. Would have, again, this statement, minus 1 minus 2 all squared is equal to 9. Negative 3 squared is equal to 9. And negative 3 times negative 3 gives you 9. So 9 is equal to 9. So again, we have another true statement. Another very true statement. Yeah, so basically when you have, again, as you saw, we have to take the square root of a positive number, then you have two solutions. Okay, let's drive the second one. At this point, you can pause and try out the rest by yourself. That's also fine, right? You can pause and try out the rest by yourself. That's also fine. Okay, so for this, let's solve. We have 2 brackets x plus 5 minus 10. Sorry, it's a square here. Minus 10 is equal to negative 14. Okay, the first thing we want to do is take minus 10 over, right? Or add 10 to both sides. You would have 2 brackets x plus 5 squared is equal to minus 14 plus 10. See, I almost made a boom boom there, so that's why I just I just did that step. Okay, so 2 brackets x plus 5 or squared is equal to negative 4. We can divide both sides by 2 at this point. If you're having an issue, or if you feel like you would have an issue deciding what to do first, then maybe you need to revisit change of subject of formula. I think it's somewhere in this course. All right, somewhere in this course. Take square root of both sides would have x plus 5 is equal to square root of negative 2. Okay, so we're here. So again, square root of a negative number. We've arrived here. This means no solution. Okay, so from this front, you want to just, there's no solution to this. There's no solution to that. Okay, very quickly, let's pick up the next one. I'll be a bit faster now. 2x squared minus 1,800 is equal to 0. I can add 1,800 to both sides. I would have 2x squared is equal to 1,800. I can divide both sides by 2. I would have x squared is equal to 1,800 over 2. That would mean x squared is equal to 900. If I take square root of both sides, I would have x is equal to, that would be plus 30 or minus 30. Again, we took the square root of a positive number, so we should have two solutions, plus or minus 30. Okay. Next, we have x squared plus half is equal to 3 over 4. Move this over, would have x squared is equal to 3 over 4 minus half. Again, if you're someone who doesn't like fractions, I mean, at this point, I think you just need to work on it, right? You just need to work on it. I don't know why people run away from fractions. Anyway, 3 over 4 minus 1 over 2 gives you 1 over 4. And again, it's not magic, right? I took the LCM and did all of that. X would be the square root of 1 over 4. The question you ask yourself is this a positive number? Yes, it is. So can I take the square root? Yes, I can. Square root of 1 over square root of 4, which gives you 1 over 2 or negative 1 over 2. Right? Positive or negative 1 over 2. And again, you can plug these numbers in and just figure to see that is all right. Okay, our final solution, our final question rather is, we have 3x squared plus 2 is equal to 2. I would subtract 2 from both sides. I would have 3x squared is equal to 0. Divide both sides by 3. X squared is equal to 0. So x is equal to square root of 0. So basically we have one solution. X is equal to 0, right? Which is our only solution. We have one solution for that. Okay, there's a link to a Khan Academy practice here. You want to just play around with this to just help you, even though we have another slide right after this that has a link to the solutions step by step of me solving and working through them. So you want to go through that also to just be sure you're okay with this concept, because like I said, this is going to show up just about everywhere. All right, so we have this. I'll pause the video. Just try to solve this using any of the methods we've learned so far. So I'll advise you to just pause the video, try it out, and then if it's not okay, then you can come back and play the video. Okay, welcome back. Obviously, I know you couldn't solve it, at least not with any of these methods, right? When we have our equations, quadratic equations in the form ax squared plus bx plus c, and you'll be seeing that a lot, right? Ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to, well, let me put 0 here, right? This is the standard form of a quadratic equation, as you should know. You can't easily solve them using any, in fact, you can't solve them using any of this method without playing some tricks on them. And so that's what we're going to spend our time doing now. Okay, the four methods of solving. There's factorization, there is formula, completing the squares, and there's the graphing method. Right, so these are just four methods we'll play around in the course. All right, we're done with this video. Don't forget the practice, right? Don't forget the practice. Thank you.